Hello everyone. The first edition of the off-season version of Bucs Talk is up and running here at bucshockey.com. I'm Scott Montesano, very happy you decided to take a few minutes out of your very busy summer schedules to think Buccaneers hockey. The 2010-2011 season is officially in the rearview mirror in the USHL, with the Clark Cup being decided 2 weeks ago, and the expansion Dubuque Fighting Saints becoming the first true expansion team to win the Cup since Lincoln 15 years ago. So now all of the focus is on next season, and we'll be using this show as a platform to update everyone on what is going on in preparing for the new season. On the ice, Red Simon and Marty Quarters are looking to build off what was in fact a successful season last year. Now, the team's best season in a number of years did not have enough to sustain a playoff berth, but still a lot of growth in the team last season. Of course, off the ice, the attendance growth of the last 2 seasons is something we're all not looking to just maintain, but keep on increasing. The more fannies in the seats, the happier we all get to be in the office. Of course, I'm excited about this show, for it gives me an opportunity to get back behind the microphone once in a while during the summer months. Now, not to brag, I've not been one to really want to float my ego at all, but in any case, one of the news items over the off-season was the fact the franchise has brought me on full-time. Management backed the old Brinks truck up to my door and kept throwing money bags out until I said stop. And not exactly, but they did give me season tickets to the Iowa Cubs, and I still think I got a pretty good deal out of it. So, long story short, I'm not going to Wisconsin this summer for the first time in a decade. I'm actually experiencing an off-season. Problem is, keeping a quality announcer away from the microphone, it's like keeping your boat tied up to the dock on a gorgeous day, or keeping a champion racing horse in the stables. Sooner or later, you've got to be let loose, and that's the situation here. Now, again, we'll come to you every other week with a new show available on demand here at bucshockey.com. The fancy word of calling it is we'll put it available on podcast every couple of weeks. Now, our next show will be in 2 weeks, right in the heart of the tryout camp, coming up on June 17th, and we'll have comments from some of the Bucs' new draft picks as they come to town for the tryout camp. Now, speaking of the tryout camp, that starts June 14th through the 15th with a goaltenders camp, and then that will morph into the tryout camp itself, which will be June 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. So that Thursday through the Sunday is the meat of the tryout camp, and of course fans are more than welcome to attend the tryout camp. A full schedule of the tryout camp is going to be available right at bucshockey.com. We're in the process of switching some things around as far as the actual schedule goes with the tryout camp. But as of right now, the plan is to have an all-star game the evening of that Saturday and also on that Sunday in the morning. But again, check bucshockey.com next week. We'll have a full schedule as to what the actual schedule with the tryout camp is. And again, fans encouraged to attend, and we'll talk about the role fans actually can play at a tryout camp in just a little bit here on this edition of Bucs Talk. Now, the Buccaneers have a number of players who are showing up at this tryout camp. And again, the tryout camp, for those who are unfamiliar, it's a mixture of the players who are coming back from last season. It's also a mixture of players taken in the futures draft and also in the entry draft, and a number of other players who are, for lack of a better word, a free agent. They've been invited by the Buccaneers to come on out here, almost like an invited walk-on at Iowa State or Iowa for their football teams. Players who the team did not necessarily draft in the entry draft or the futures draft, but players that the coaches want to get a look at and could also make this team. And they'll all be coming into Des Moines coming up in a couple of weeks, looking to make the team. And, of course, from there, the coaching staff of Red Simon and Marty Quarters will whittle down those players into a number that they'll bring to the training camp coming up right around Labor Day in September and make the final roster from that. Now, both Reg and Marty very excited about the drafts, both the futures draft in April and the entry draft, which was held in May. Now you show me one coaching staff that's not happy about the draft, and I'd be absolutely stunned. I've yet to come across any coaching staff that was not satisfied with the draft that they had. But that said, Reg and Marty both legitimately happy with some of the guys that they got in the entry draft and in the futures draft as well. And again, you can check bucshockey.com for the full list of the players who were selected in either one of the drafts. Now, the Buccaneers had a number of players taken, a number of players they're very high on. A couple of guys the Buccaneers were pretty excited about right off the get-go that they got in their drafts was Justin Hussar, a forward from the Topeka Roadrunners in the North American Hockey League. Now, because of some trades, the Buccaneers did not have a first-round pick in the entry draft this year. So their first pick came in the second round, and they were very happy to see that Justin Hussar was still available from Topeka. Now, the Buccaneers have a number of holes, numbers-wise, on the defensive side of things. The Buccaneers losing a number of D-men from last season, and the focus going into the draft was obviously to fill that need. The Buccaneers need bodies defensively, but Justin Hussar was available, and the Buccaneers simply could not pass up the opportunity to pick up this kid. Played with Topeka in the North American Hockey League last season and was a sniper. He could sniff the net. 33 goals and 33 assists for a very quality program in Topeka. So the Buccaneers very happy to see that he was still available when their selection came up, and they were very happy that they had an opportunity to get him there. Buccaneers also picked up, as far as the defenseman goes, with their next pick, Zach Dorr from Traverse City in the North American Hockey League. Now, Traverse City, the same program that produced the Buccaneers' Doug Clifford this past year. Zach Dorr, a defenseman for Traverse City, had a +10 rating. He's committed to Ferris State, and he'll help to, again, beef up that defensive side of things for the Des Moines Buccaneers. Going back into April, the Buccaneers' top pick in the futures draft was Michael Brodzinski, a Twin Cities product whose brother Johnny has already played in this league briefly with Fargo last season. But Michael Brodzinski, another high-flying forward, selected in the futures draft by the Buccaneers back in April. And again, this is just a small sampling of the players taken in the draft, both the future and in the entry draft. And a full list is available at bucshockey.com, and you yourself can see who these players are at the tryout camp. And again, the coaching staff very excited about the draft, very excited about what these players possess, what they have seen in person from these guys, what they have heard from scouts and coaches around the country about these guys. But then again, I've never met a coach unhappy about their selections when it comes to the draft. Buccaneers did have more of a need for forwards, as it turned out, in this draft. And it's a good thing the Buccaneers balanced things out, picking forwards, picking D-men, and also picking up a couple of goaltenders. And the reason for that, just days after the entry draft in May, the Buccaneers learning that, well, they're not going to have Dan DeSalvo back for a second season. Dan DeSalvo, who turned out to be the Buccaneers' leading scorer this season, in this his rookie Junior A campaign, informed the coaching staff in mid-May that he was going to be accepting a scholarship offer to Bowling Green University. So congratulations to Dan DeSalvo. He had an opportunity to go to Bowling Green. It came up very late in the season, here in the springtime, and just an opportunity that the kid felt was too good to pass up. So Dan DeSalvo took the opportunity to go to Bowling Green, that's a program that pretty much is using Des Moines as its own personal feeder system right now. But Dan DeSalvo off to Bowling Green. Buccaneers do not have his services next season. So again, the Buccaneers heavy on the forwards in the draft early on. 2 of their first 4 selections ended up being forwards this season in the entry draft. Buccaneers also picked up Mario Lucia Mario Lucia, they picked him up in a trade with Sioux Falls, trading Justin Selman to Sioux Falls for the rights to Mario Lucia, whose father is the head coach at the University of Minnesota. Red Simon, very impressed with the knowledge that Mario Lucia has. He is a coach's kid, after all. And one thing many of you fans have probably learned over the last few years, as you've gotten to know Red Simon more, is that he desires players with hockey smarts. Every player at this level isn't necessarily 100% developed athletically. Everybody here is 16 to 20 years of age, and many of them still have not only a little bit, but a lot of room to grow physically as they get older. But that doesn't mean you can't have hockey smarts. And Reg really desires the players who have those hockey smarts. The physical attributes, they will come. You can work on the physical attributes, but the hockey smarts to a certain level, he really likes to see. Again, skills are not necessarily fully developed. This is juniors, after all. But he wants them to know what to do, and I think that's one of the things that really impressed him about a guy like Mario Lucia and the rest of these players the Buccaneers have drafted. Coming up at the tryout camp, goaltending position will definitely be fun to watch as the Buccaneers will look to fill the goaltending position. Des Moines has one incumbent. That is Tyler Brugman, who will be entering his last year of junior hockey. Tyler Brugman will be back at tryout camp. He's the incumbent, but the team will need at least one more goaltender next season. A number of affiliate-less players are coming into town, as well as some players taken in the entry draft. So the goaltending position will be a highly coveted spot. And remember, the goaltending aspect of the tryout camp will actually begin on June 14th. June 14th and 15th, and the top goaltenders there will advance on to the tryout camp later on in the weekend. A.J. Buccino, one-time member of the Des Moines Buccaneers and now the team's goaltending consultant, is the one who's helping to lead the charge into finding the Buccaneers goaltenders for next season. You'll also notice if you come to the tryout camp, some familiar names are returning to Des Moines as far as a lineage, if you will. The brothers of Aaron Pelujai, Chris Knowlton, and Connor Kucera are scheduled to come to camp as of right now. So Aaron Pelujai, Chris Knowlton, Connor Kucera, their younger brothers, will try to become a member of the Buccaneers family. Again, fans, Bucs Talk. This is the off-season version of Bucs Talk. We'll be with you every other week here during the summer months. Just check right here to bucshockey.com for the latest podcast as far as that goes. Scott Montesano here. You can't keep me quiet all summer long. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about how the tryout camp, fans are invited. We want to see fans out, particularly to those all-star games on Saturday and on Sunday. And when the final schedule comes out, make sure to bookmark that and come on out to at least one of those all-star games. We talked about how fans are more than welcome and, in fact, encouraged to come out, and how fans can play a role in helping this Buccaneer team get some players. As many of you longtime fans know, this is a two-way street when it comes to the draft. Now, let me explain when it comes to the tryout camp. And let me explain. The Buccaneers benefit from having their tryout camp here in Des Moines and at their home rink. Other teams have to go away from their rink, and a few teams even away from their own community. Some teams are nowhere near their own home community. They're hosting their tryout camp miles and miles away, crossing state lines, because they just don't have the ability. Here in Des Moines, we host it all right at Buccaneer Arena. Now keep this in mind. Players are looking to sell themselves. Players are coming here. They're trying out for the Des Moines Buccaneers. But you're also trying to sell them. Keep that in mind. Many of you longtime fans know players that come to the tryout camp, they're not guaranteed to show up here to training camp. You want to win them over as well. It's like a first date. You want to impress. So fans, if you're coming out, you can do your part by just showing up at the rink, showing how this area cares about this hockey team. You don't have to do much. Just be yourself. You don't have to take it upon yourself to sweet talk players or anything like that, but just come on out. Your mere presence at the tryout camp shows how much this area cares about this team. Players will look up and see a few hundred people at the All-Star game, and it'll floor them. The fact that it's June, might be 90 degrees outside, beautiful day, and people are still coming in to watch a tryout camp. Again, great opportunity for these players as they show up and try to make a USHL roster, but also it is up to the Buccaneer organization to win some of these players over as well, especially some of these players who have other options, whether it's to stay home and finish off their final high school season, or to stay home and play for their local junior team, or to, in some cases, maybe even go and play up in Canada. You want to win these players over as much as they want to win you over as well. A couple more things that we'll do before we wrap up this installment of Bucs Talk, the first installment of the off-season version of Bucs Talk. A few fans may have already known some of the alumni updates that have taken place for the Buccaneers. One former Buccaneer still skating this season. That is Chad Rao. He's playing for the Houston Aeros in the American Hockey League. Houston is an affiliate of the Minnesota Wild. And Chad Rao and the Houston Aeros right now participating in the Calder Cup Finals against the Binghamton Senators. Chad Rao and Houston hoping to bring home a championship down to Texas. So we wish Chad and his team the best of luck as he looks to win himself a championship ring. You may also have seen that Kyle Oposo signed a new deal with the New York Islanders, and Brian Foster signed an entry-level deal with the Florida Panthers back at the end of April. And that's just a small sampling of the alumni update. And as we go through the next couple of months, we'll see some more movement as far as alumni goes, as players are in the professional ranks and where they may end up. Well, that'll wrap it up for this installment of Bucs Talk, the off-season version of Bucs Talk. And coming up in a couple of weeks, we've got the tryout camp going on. We're going to introduce you to some of these players that we talked about a little earlier, your top picks in your entry and futures draft. We'll talk to some other players as well, and that's what we're going to do a lot of here during the off-season, is introduce you to some of these players who are prospective future members of the Des Moines Buccaneers. So when the season comes around in October, we're not necessarily doing this whole thing cold. We have an idea of who these players are. We'll also touch base with the Buccaneer coaching staff, get their thoughts on some of these players and what this team could end up looking like as we move in to next season. However, until then, fans, great, big, beautiful tomorrow out there, shining at the end of every day. Make sure to enjoy it. And until next time, so long, everybody.